Hello and welcome to An Eyewitness. I'm taking a slightly different tack with this video. I'm going to do an editorial, illustrated with photos of video clips from my archive. Took quite a long time to pull them all together. Expect some cheeky satirical humour from around the 4th minute. So here we go, my editorial. I've seen a few articles recently, the one in Bloomberg praising Manchester, comment from a marketing professional, food for thought. Often positive, but maybe they don't always tell the full story. Often it's not clear exactly what's going on. Important facts are left out, things are obscured, and turn out to be very different to what was initially publicised. I've thrown together a few ideas, hopefully thought-provoking. Is there a crisis in architecture, planning, development and construction in Manchester and Liverpool? Within the industry, maybe you'd think there wasn't a problem, but as I try to follow what's happening from all angles, I would say not all is well. There have been and continue to be problems. The first major problem to my mind is that there seems to be no general accepted concept of what's good or bad in modern architecture. Architects spend ages designing buildings which are then disliked by members of the public and maybe loved by a few. Which is the majority? I'm not sure. Projects often stall, mostly due to funding problems. When a project stalls, there are often very negative consequences. Planning, developing and constructing buildings is not easy. It's a risky business. There may also be structural problems with new buildings. That pencil-thin skyscraper in New York is a famous example. There are potential problems for residents. A lot of buildings have hidden costs, high maintenance fees, unexpected repair bills. I've heard some scare stories. Corruption in high places degrades everything. The public becomes cynical and expect only the worst. Talk of brown envelopes and those councillors, but I think most councillors are honest. There's a trial coming up in Liverpool. That should be interesting. People often have a very negative view of new construction and expect the worst. But they also seem to have unrealistic expectations. If everyone took this attitude, then we'd make no progress at all. Planning departments don't always make the right decisions. Valuable older buildings are being demolished, unsuitable new ones being approved. Misconceived plans, there have been many down the years. I like to think those days are gone, but bad decisions are still being made. But it seems nowadays they are making an effort to get things right. Manchester recently rejected a proposal because of its design and lack of affordable housing. Someone said when they start to refuse planning permission, it's the end of the building boom. I don't think so. I think it's just reached a more mature stage and the council are being a bit more choosy. In Liverpool, the council have just approved the first new tall building, or tallish building, to be constructed in the King Edward Triangle district. In past years, they rejected quite a few tall buildings and tallish buildings. There's often a lack of communication from the decision makers to the general public about what's happening and what's going to happen. Decisions taken behind closed doors. I wish I could be a fly on the wall. And another one I keep on going on about, there are not enough CGI visualizations of planned projects. Today's technology enables us to see proposed projects from every angle and in every type of weather, both still and in animated form. And yet we often only ever see one image in all the different media outlets. Older buildings are still being demolished when maybe they could be retained, though it is often a dilemma. Most buildings constructed today are in a modernist style, plain and functional. Some, like that Dutch YouTuber who produces the channel The Aesthetic City, say we should reject all modern architecture and go back to earlier styles. But I don't think that will be practical in cities like Liverpool and Manchester. And what earlier styles? The Trafford Centre, that's the only recent building I can think of in a traditional style. There is the Poplin residential building on Oldham Street, Manchester, which has arches. But how about a neo-Gothic apartment building like the Dakota in New York? You could live in a penthouse in the clock tower as long as that huge bell doesn't go off at 3 in the morning. And maybe that prestigious firm of business accountants would like to have their head offices in a building inspired by the artist and architect Friedensreich Hundertwasser. I think it would fit right into the city centre business district, don't you think? Anyone for Neo-Georgian? Oh no, that's been done already, just off Oxford Street in Manchester. How about apartment buildings inspired by half-timbered buildings, medieval castles, or the ultimate retro, luxury executive city centre Anglo-Saxon style huts, like these ones at West Stowe. Architecture and construction. It's often treated as a dull, dry and serious business, so let's lighten things up a little. The thing that sparked all this off was the short video I did about the completion of No. 1 Port Street. I noticed that in response to the article in Place Northwest, the comments were almost exclusively negative. So after all that work, time, effort and investment, they're still not happy. So I thought, okay, what if the architects admitted, okay lads, we've got it wrong. They don't like the design, so let's just go back to square one. Demolish everything, refund the investors, sell the steel for scrap and restore the site to exactly how it was before construction started. There you are, it's gone. Happy now? Actually, I have to admit that there are a few places where I think this would be a good course of action. Piccadilly Gardens, for instance. Remove No. 1 Portland Street and create a new full-size gardens inspired by the old. That's what I've always said. But once a building is built, you can't just get rid of it. Not like a bad video, I've done a few of those in my time. You can't switch off a building. You can't delete No. 1 Port Street or make it unlisted. People will be noticing it and passing comment on it for many years to come. Some people say architects should be arrested and put in jail. Would that be the right approach? Oh yes, I can just imagine it. The police are now carrying out Operation Boring Buildings and have raided a number of architectural practices in Manchester and Liverpool, seizing computers and hard drives on suspicion that they are deliberately and with malice aforethought designing hideous buildings, even competing with each other to win the Carbuncle Cup. One well-known architect has been charged with premeditated and malicious use of terracotta tiles with intent to cause offence and distress. Another was found guilty of choosing an insipid shade of grey for the exterior of a building and is serving a 6-month community order. Yet another was charged with using glass where brick would have been more appropriate and using brick where glass would have been more appropriate, and was acquitted. Sounds ridiculous, but in the communist era, in my old stomping ground of East Germany, architecture was a political issue. But that's another story. I've often said architects are like gods. They create the world we live in, or at least the built part of it. But unlike God, they're not infallible. Who'd be an architect nowadays? Maybe get a job on the bins, or go over to the other side and set up a demolition company. People criticise modern architecture, but I've picked out 24 projects in Manchester and Liverpool, some controversial or not completed, but many good and a few superb. Liverpool's Littlewoods building being converted into a film studio, but there's a funding gap. Let's hope a solution is found. It'll be fantastic if and when it's finished. Central Docks, south of the new Everton Stadium, is now finally going ahead, but it's approximately 4 years late. Ah well, better late than never. The Hume Crescent's 1960s planning disaster, later cool abode for owners of great record collections, demolished in the 1990s. The Arndale Centre, notorious for its yellow tiles, has been renovated and partly rebuilt. It's successful, but the tiles are still on show. In Liverpool, the empty Chinatown site, a major stalled project that I think has had a negative effect on development over the past few years. The council have taken things in hand. The 2001 remake of Piccadilly Gardens in Manchester, a classic example of bad planning. I objected, but to no avail. Some 1930s buildings in Manchester have been lost, Northcliffe House on Deansgate, Century House on St Peter's Square, but the police station facade was saved as part of the St Michael's project. The Spine in Liverpool is rectangular, but the giant decals on the exterior with an organic pattern really add something. Maybe that's the fix that will solve everything. Decals. People criticise Manchester's Beetham Hilton Tower, but as the architect explained, it was a unique opportunity. With a limited time and budget, they gave it a go and it paved the way for Deansgate Square with its 4 towers, which people also criticise for being too samey. Maybe we should have a local referendum like in Switzerland. Would a majority vote in favour of the tall buildings? Stockport Interchange is being criticised, badly designed, not close enough to the station, children's play area not good enough, but I use it every day. The interchange, not the children's play area. It's very good, though a bit drafty. The Urbis building, now Football Museum. I documented the construction of this building, completed in 2001. Too small to be a major landmark, but still striking. My favourite building in Manchester, the Central Library, cleaned up on the outside, rebuilt on the inside, retaining the magnificent reading room. reopened in 2014. I love it, but I don't like the pod. Liverpool Central Library, reconstructed and reopened in 2013. Futuristic and traditional side by side. The interior looks like a spaceship. I love it. The escalators are scary. Nice views from the roof terrace. Shakespeare North, Prescott. Plain on the outside, but fascinating on the inside, with a medieval theatre made out of wood. Windmill Green, the green-covered building just opposite Manchester Central. Great exterior and very good environmental credentials. The Museum of Liverpool, next to the Three Graces, it doesn't dominate them. It's angular, not a box. Great views of the pierhead and the River Mersey. There was a post-construction legal dispute with the architects. The museum won. The new Piccadilly railway station, completed in time for the Commonwealth Games 2002. It still looks good after 24 years. The new Everton Stadium in Liverpool, 4 years in the making, a masterpiece of modern architecture. The Island building on John Dalton Street, Manchester, with its brick and curved corners, recalls traditional Victorian and Edwardian commercial buildings. Liverpool Metropolitan Cathedral, opened in 1968, despite extensive and expensive repairs to the concrete. It's a classic of modern architecture and a well-loved silhouette on the skyline. The Whitworth Art Gallery extension, hidden to the rear, a cool, minimalist, contemporary creation in glass and metal, with views through the trees and into the park, part of the University of Manchester. The Yoko Ono Lennon Centre is an award-winning building, superb brickwork and a design recalling 1930s Art Deco, part of the University of Liverpool. So here are my recommendations. Sounds like a committee meeting in the town hall. Not very exciting, but the topic of new buildings in the changing city is something that everyone should be concerned about. As we've seen, there are problems, but it's not all bad. It's possible to do things right, so here are a few ideas. Education. Well, I'm from an educational background. I teach languages, and I want to inform and educate people. That's my job, and I think people need more education on this subject, and not just the general public. Architects need to be more educated. I think they're often in a bit of an ivory tower. They need to connect more with the people for whom they are designing. Developers need to take people into consideration more. I heard at Salford's Regent Road project, one of the team said that she was glad that they had engaged with the public. But that doesn't always happen. The same goes for planners or placemakers. People complain that the general public are often left out of the decision-making process. There should be a way to try to make collective decisions. There should be a forum where people on all sides can discuss, exchange ideas, and try to find the best solution. But the public also need to be more educated about planning and architecture. I feel that many are all too willing to share their opinions and criticize, but it's clear that some are not very well informed about the subject and could do with finding out more. There are plenty of opportunities for people to learn about architecture. It's a fascinating subject. The Royal Institute of British Architects have an exhibition centre in Liverpool. There are other organisations like the Victorian Society and the 20th Century Society. I say, get wise, dig deeper, look at the pros and cons, find out about the history, read books, watch videos, maybe one or two of mine. I learn new things every time I make a video. Listen to radio programs, listen to podcasts. One final point I'd like to make is that not every building can be an architectural masterpiece. Not every building can be a Liver building, a Gherkin or an Empire State. But let's hope we can raise the standard in Manchester and Liverpool and achieve a better urban environment together. If you'd like to support what I'm doing, you can buy me a coffee, check membership options, or just keep watching, liking and commenting respectfully please. That will help the growth of the channel. Vielen Dank fürs Zuschauen und auf Wiedersehen in Liverpool und Manchester.